Good morning. He won't even let me get through it. He won't even let me get through the intro. Stop. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Habitual LineCrosser. And today, on this next exciting episode of USA versus the World, today, we are fighting against an Imperial Star Destroyer. No, Finn, we can't do that music. We can't do... Disney will sue us. They'll sue us into oblivion. I know what music you wanted to do. I wanted to do it too, but oh my God, Disney will just sue the pants off of me. I'd like to first apologize. It's been several days, actually months, since I've done one of these.
I wanted to give time for your video to play a few seconds to make sure it gets tagged as yours in case you want to claim it. I don't feel it would be fair to respond to your video without letting you have the actual claim on it. You proposed an interesting scenario where a Star Destroyer came to Earth, and it was absolutely entertaining to watch, and I liked it. And I thought, what better way to give back to one of my favorite creators than by creating a response video? So you invited people to critique your opinion, and I'm going to approach this through the lens of one of the characters in Star Wars that's one of the most favorite, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I apologize for this little interruption. It is meant in comedy and jest. That little AI bit of video. Anyways, so Grand Admiral Thrawn reviews the entire invasion or conquest of a species by first seeking to understand their psychology through their art, because you could argue art is not just what one person makes, but what a society decides to adopt or to value or to allow to exist. And that puts a critique on the entire society in a way, not just on the individuality of the one, but in many societies, the individuality of one is often policed by the society and is often controlled to make them agreeable to the rest and not offensive. So you can begin to see what the society will value or not value depending on how far that artwork is received by the society and the actual ageless welcome of it to that society. And you can determine a lot by the age itself, by how well it receives certain artworks and not other artworks, and what happens to that artwork during that period, sometimes being destroyed or burned, or simply put away somewhere in someone's private collection to be preserved for another time when it's more appreciated. As some collectors will come to realize, art is not always appreciated in every age, but may come to be appreciated in an age after. So you end up with this reflection of a society's values and culture, as well the individual artist making it may have made that art as an expression of their own individual madness, which could be a reflection of the difficulties others in society face, or it could be a unique personal goal or issue, or even their own critique of society. With this, you might say, well then what would Grand Admiral Thrawn do with Earth if he were to review the artwork before sending a single Star Destroyer to conquer it, or to put it on a path that would lead it to the Empire's goals, which may not be outright conquering it right away, but part of a longer-term plan to achieve something. Maybe even having that planet eventually join the Empire willingly rather than by force, reducing the cost of occupation to nothing. Sacrificing a single Star Destroyer is expensive, but occupying a planet and holding it under control forever is expensive too. For instance, with Earth, you might see in its artwork reflected a certain appreciation for our martial society, a society that values war and conquest, as many artworks from Europe at least pertain, and there's artworks from Asia and other areas that will also pertain to this, and many artworks that are lost to time. The other heavy reflection is religion and the rulers and gods of society in different cultures, and the battle between which society values, which god, and the conquest of those they perceive as lesser or not real gods. And the ultimate Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, Judaism, many isms, and they all compete for what their vision of what truth is through art as much as anything spoken. The mind seeks to create a visual reflection of what it's going through, as saying things alone is often not enough. We and any other species would presumably be visual creatures as much as auditory based creatures, and we would value such things. You might argue some species might even go so far as to create artwork that is flavored, so you have to taste it, which would be not wise for our world. We'll just pretend that didn't happen, but it is what it is. Sculptures and 3D artworks are impressive too, and are also speaking of the strength and the dexterity of the species to be able to craft that. You gain insight into how well their motor functions are to actually transform that material, and the technology and tools that they use or choose to use versus what they actually have available to them when they make that. And it speaks to tenacity and the resilience of the species as much as anything. And you can, even in the very architecture they build of their structures, gain an insight and appreciation for what that species is capable of and what they perceive as art versus function. Ultimately, you would have to also take into account geography and other things affecting the cultural climate of a species and why they create the art they do. The weather in the background will become relevant to the very use of light, and color will become reflective of how that culture sees the world and beyond. And so you will see in many of the European paintings, at least, some that are bright and colorful in society, and others that are dark and predicting a terrible fate or future of what the human soul might go through, and is a reflection of a period of religious oversight and where the dominating nature of society was crafted by a concern for the supernatural and, as they put it, the creator of the universe's will versus the forces that he put into motion to shape their world's destiny, and perhaps the destiny of the galaxy as they see it, or the universe. To that end, you might gain insight into how to conquer the world is not through pure military prowess, but through carefully applied actors on the planet to shape their religions. You might even go so far as to send someone to harness this division of what they perceive as true religion and not true religion, and to figure out which religions might actually welcome the Empire, if the Empire welcomed their religion to a degree, or at least bowed enough to tolerate it on their world and where they traveled to, so long as they were productive members of the Empire. Ultimately, it comes down, when you control a region, you must not actually hold it in an iron fist. You must welcome them onto your hand and let them perch upon you and be the place of refuge for them. And that lends to more of a black flag operation or other ways to coerce the population to actually trust you. Not through your actions outright, but through your defending them from the actions of neighbors, allowing the Star Destroyer to come in not to dominate them, but to stop terrible attacks on regions of their world while toning down the power of other regions that are less productive to the vision of the Empire. You create tools by setting one region against another and giving the region you want to destroy enough power to be an actual threat, while not linking them back directly to the Empire by using technologies that are not used by the Empire nor would be seen as from a space-faring race, unless you could set up an entire fake alternate empire that your empire is fighting and that has come here and you are chasing them down and destroying them, and you are simply here to destroy the elements they've sent to this world and free their people from this terrible tyrannical grip. To that end, you might say, would we do this? Maybe. There is another path, insight into their species, their appreciation for not paying taxes from the Americas. They do not like to pay into social infrastructure if they can avoid it. And that presents an interesting opportunity through the government, or should I say through the empire, sending one representative of our bureaucracy to present to them how we can shape for them a more efficient government that requires less money to be paid into it, that gains them all the benefits they currently have and more. And being a capitalistic society, you have to present this not as a tax, but as a purchase for them, for their well-being and their gains that they get out of it, and giving them presentable options so they don't just get one flat option they have to buy into, but multiple options with multiple different rewards that they can choose to opt in or opt out of, and the collective goal will feed into the empire's needs financially while pulling them in structurally, not requiring anything beyond a simple tax doctrine that is presented as a purchase plan with multiple rewards. And that is the path I would propose to conquer Earth, not through military force, but through efficient government, capitalism, and the ability to purchase anything and everything their hearts could desire. And eventually, there is one more path that would open up. Being the martial society they are, even if they don't want to admit it, presenting to them the option to join the Empire and to travel the galaxy as soldiers, warriors, poets if they desire, artisans if they desire, but pilots, and those that desire bureaucracy to join the Empire's more officer-focused corps and elements that actually keep the Empire running, making them an excellent and very useful arm of the Empire if they are brought in not by force, but with longing. This is, I believe, how Admiral Thrawn, working with other bureaucrats, might proceed to present the options to the Earth, not as manipulation, but simply the option to gain something while actually saving more of their resources. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you. Have a good day.